Rabbit R1. In January 2024, Microsoft CEO Satya Nadella watched a 27-year-old founder hold up a small orange box at CES and called it the most impressive product launch since Steve Jobs unveiled the iPhone. The founder was Jesse Liu. The box was the Rabbit R1, a $200 device with a scroll wheel, a camera, and something called a large action model that would order your Uber, book your dinner, and manage every app on your phone, all by voice. No screen tapping, no swiping, just talk. 100,000 people pre-ordered it. Tech journalists were already picking out flowers for the smartphone's funeral, and then the Rabbit R1 shipped. And it could not book a restaurant. It could not call an Uber. It could not identify a Cool Ranch Dorito. A reviewer held one up to the camera, and the Rabbit R1 told him, with absolute confidence, that he was holding a taco. He rotated the chip, tried again. Still taco. $200, and it can't tell the difference between a triangle and a tube. Then, within weeks of launch, developers discovered something worse. The entire Rabbit operating system could run as a standard Android app. Every feature, every function. The revolutionary hardware was a phone app inside a plastic shell from a founder whose previous company sold NFTs. 5 months later, out of 100,000 buyers, 5,000 were still using it. 95% of people who bought one quietly stopped. And somehow, none of that is the strangest AI product failure of 2024. Humane AI Pin. The Rabbit R1 was built by an NFT guy who fooled the tech press. The Humane AI Pin was built by the people who actually made the iPhone. Imran Chaudhry designed it. Bethany Bongiorno ran its software. Between them, decades inside Apple. They left to start Humane, raised $230 million from Sam Altman, Mark Benioff, and Microsoft, and built a wearable clip-on device with no screen that projects a laser onto your palm. $699, plus $24 a month for a mandatory T-Mobile plan, for a pin that you clip to your shirt. The Verge called it so thoroughly unfinished and so totally broken in so many unacceptable ways. Mark S. Brownlee, who had already called the Rabbit R1 barely reviewable, looked at the Humane AI Pin and called it the worst product he has ever reviewed. That review has 8.5 million views. Humane's goal was 100,000 units in year one. They sold around 10,000, $9 million in total revenue. Then between May and August, more pins were returned than sold. Every returned unit became electronic waste because a T-Mobile limitation made refurbishment impossible. Then the charging case started a fire hazard. Humane told customers to stop using it immediately. No refund. 2 free months of subscription. In February 2025, HP bought the patents and staff for $116 million. Not the pin. HP specifically did not want the product. On February 28th, every AI pin on Earth was permanently shut off. Users had days to download their photos before the servers went dark. $230 million spent building something that existed for 10 months and is now in a landfill. Friend pendant. Avi Schiffman is a Harvard dropout who went viral at 17 building a COVID tracking website. In 2024, he founded a company that sells an AI pendant, a piece of jewelry that listens to your life through a microphone and texts you throughout the day, like a companion. He raised $2.5 million in seed funding. He spent $1.8 million of it on a domain name, friend.com. 72% of his entire budget on a URL that had been sitting unclaimed for 17 years. The pendant was supposed to ship January 2025. Then it became summer 2025. It still hasn't shipped. When the team launched a chatbot on the website as a preview, the AI characters kept opening conversations by describing their personal traumas, muggings, job losses, being haunted. A product built to cure loneliness, powered by chatbots having panic attacks, funded by a company that spent its rent money on a website address. If any of this is making you feel something, that's a good sign. It means you should subscribe. The rest of this video gets significantly worse. Builder.ai. Every product so far failed because the technology didn't work. Builder.ai failed because the technology didn't exist. Builder.ai was a London-based startup that promised to let anyone build a custom app using AI, as easy as ordering a pizza, according to the founder. His name was Sachin Dev Dugal. He called himself Chief Wizard. Microsoft invested, SoftBank invested. The Qatar Investment Authority led a $250 million round. Total funding $445 million. Valuation $1.5 billion. The AI assistant was called Natasha. You described your app and Natasha built it. Except Natasha was not artificial intelligence. Natasha was approximately 700 software engineers in India, manually coding customer requests and pretending to be a chatbot. 700 people pretending to be software, funded by investors who believed they were funding software that replaces people. The Wall Street Journal flagged this in 2019. A former executive sued the company that same year, calling the entire technology smoke and mirrors. The company settled and kept raising money. By 2024, internal audits revealed that Builder.ai had inflated its revenue projections by 300%, claiming $220 million in revenue when it actually made $50 million. In early 2025, the founder stepped down. His replacement discovered the books were unsalvageable. Then their main lender, Viola Credit, seized $37 million from the company's accounts, leaving $5 million in the bank. On May 20th, the new CEO told hundreds of employees on a video call that the money was gone. Everyone was fired. A federal investigation in the United States is now underway. $445 million to build artificial intelligence, and the intelligence was neither. The Chief Wizard title was, in hindsight, the most honest thing about the company. At this point, we've had a product that couldn't identify a chip, a product that became garbage, a product that hasn't shipped, and a product that was secretly 700 people. So naturally, the next one is a product that worked beautifully and was killed anyway. OpenAI Sora. OpenAI showed Sora to the world in February 2024. Woolly mammoths in snow, cinematic Tokyo streets, photorealistic video from a text prompt. By September 2025, Sora launched as a consumer app, hit #1 on the App Store, and crossed 1 million downloads in 5 days. 6 months later, OpenAI killed it. The math is genuinely hard to process. Sora cost approximately $15 million a day to run. Every 10-second clip used $1.30 in computing power. Against that, Sora earned a total, not per month, not per quarter, total of $2.1 million in its entire lifetime. Its daily cost was 7 times everything it ever made. In December 2025, Disney signed a billion-dollar partnership with OpenAI built around Sora. Over 200 characters licensed from Disney, Marvel, Pixar, and Star Wars. A dedicated section planned for Disney+. 3 months later, Disney found out Sora was being shut down less than 60 minutes before the public announcement. The deal collapsed. No money ever changed hands. OpenAI's own head of Sora had called the economics completely unsustainable months before the Disney deal was even signed. Their application's CEO told staff company could no longer afford side quests. That is the word OpenAI used to describe the product that made the entire world believe AI could make movies. Metaverse. Everything before this was expensive. This is something else entirely. In October 2021, Mark Zuckerberg announced that Facebook was now called Meta. The future wasn't social media. It was the metaverse, a virtual world where you'd work, shop, and socialize inside a headset. Investors cheered. The press treated it like a civilizational shift. Reality Labs, Meta's metaverse division, has reported the following operating losses. 2020, $6.6 billion. 2021, $10.2 billion. 2022, $13.7 billion. 2023, $16.1 billion. 2024, $17.7 billion. 2025, $19.2 billion. Every single year, worse than the last. The cumulative total is now over $80 billion. To put that in perspective, every other failure in this video combined, the orange box, the pin, the necklace, the fake AI, and the video tool, does not add up to a single quarter of what Meta has lost. $80 billion spent on a virtual world whose flagship platform could not, at one point, render legs on its avatars. $80 billion and the cartoon version of Mark Zuckerberg didn't have knees. In January 2026, Meta laid off 1,000 Reality Labs employees, cut the metaverse budget by 30%, and quietly stopped making new VR headsets. During the latest earnings call, the word metaverse was not spoken once. The man renamed a trillion-dollar company after a vision he no longer mentions in public. None of these products failed because the technology wasn't impressive. They failed because impressive was the only thing they were. The demo worked, the keynote landed, and nobody asked the only question that mattered. Does anyone reach for this when the lights come on? The standing ovation was the product. Everything after it was the failure. If this changed how you see the next big launch, send it to someone who needs it. Subscribe. The next one is already being funded.